Cartagena, one of the most beautiful places to visit in Latin America. It is a vibrant and colorful city that combines Spanish, African, and indigenous roots. At times, it takes you back to colonial times and battles with pirates, and then it returns you to a present full of life. Its historic center, its islands, and its Caribbean vibe make it a very attractive destination. Stay here that I'll give you all the information you need to visit Cartagena. Are you planning a trip in Colombia? I'm here to help. I'm Jaime Rincon from Medellin, Colombia. I'm a professional tour guide and I really know my country. This is Kachay Colombia. Welcome everybody! Today we're going to explore Cartagena, the most famous place in Colombia for tourism, the one that everyone wants to visit when they think about coming to this country. But is it really worth it? Stay till the end so we can find out. I'm going to tell you the good and the bad of this emblematic side of the Colombian Caribbean. Getting to Cartagena is very easy. It has an international airport where flights from the United States, Europe, and Latin American countries land, as well as, of course, from most Colombian cities. It is also the only port in Colombia where cruises arrive. The airport is located inside the city, so in a few minutes you can be transported to your accommodation. From the moment you arrive, you can see the beach, the walls that surround the historic center, so we get an idea of what this destination offers. We can say that Cartagena is divided into two cities. The first is the city where people live and the tourists usually don't even see. And the second is the tourist city, where the places of interest are located, as well as the hotels and Airbnbs. This second city, in turn, is divided into three areas: the walled city, the Getsemaní neighborhood, and Boca Grande. The walled city of the historic center is the most expensive area to stay. It is beautiful and it has luxury hotels, but it is normally crowded and difficult to get around by car. Because it is a historic city built centuries ago, its streets are narrow and buildings with a maximum of 5 floors usually don't have an elevator. Getsemaní is also part of the historic center, but it is outside the walls. It has boutique hotels that are a little simpler, but still very pleasant. It is a less expensive area, although noisier and just as difficult to get around by vehicle. Boca Grande is a more modern area where there are hotels of all types with many different prices. It has a beach, a shopping center, and wider roads. But if you stay there, you will have to take a taxi every time you go to the historic center, which is really where you spend most of the time. Now that we are located in the city, let's talk about what we can do here. Let's start with the basics. Let's take a city tour of Cartagena. The tour begins at the San Felipe Castle. This is how it's called, but actually it is not a castle. It is a military fortress that the Spanish built during the colonial era in the 17th century to protect the gold that was sent by ship to Spain from Cartagena.
So here in San Felipe Castle or San Felipe Fort, this is a place full of history because it's the place where the Spanish king used to keep some gold collected in different parts of South America. That is why we find these weapons, cannons, and a lot of history about pirates, attacks, and from different armies.
San Felipe is a beautiful place and it's full of those stories that seem taken from movies about all those attacks they received there by the British, French, and Dutch armies and pirates who wanted to take over the Spanish wealth. To know those stories, you will have to wait until you are walking in there. For now, I can tell you that this fort was the most successful in this continent because with it, the Spanish were able to win all the battles, hence Cartagena's nickname, the Heroic. This construction is very well preserved, and there we can see its guard towers, the places from where they fired cannon shots at enemy ships, and we can walk through some of its tunnels that were used to move around the structure and so that the enemies would get lost in case that they managed to enter. It is also a place to take some spectacular photos, and at the highest point we find a souvenir and drink shop. Here is a tip. You must go early in the morning or close to the sunset because the heat during the day is impressive. San Felipe Castle opens every day from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and the cost is different for Colombians and foreigners. Let's continue the route towards the walled city, but before arriving, let's stop for an emblematic photo. On the way to the historic center, we pass through the Marbella beach. Later, we will talk about the beaches of Cartagena so that you know which is the best option. For now, we are going to stop at Marbella to visit the Cartagena sign, where you can take a photo full of color with the palenqueras, which are these women who wear typical costumes. The original palenqueras were women who came from a town called San Basilio de Palenque that was founded by slaves who gained freedom. They came to Cartagena to sell fruits and sweets that they carried on their heads while walking through the streets, and they became one of the symbols of the city. You will see them everywhere, offering to appear in your pictures, but keep in mind that they will always charge. Most of them are no longer selling fruits or sweets, but rather their job is to pose for photos. Now, let's get into the beautiful city between the walls. The walls are part of the fortification that protected the city in colonial times, and inside we still find the buildings of that period that are also full of history. Walking here is very pleasant, as it is an environment full of color and very beautiful architecture. Along the way, you will need breaks and something to refresh yourself, so you can choose between the street vendors of fruits and drinks or the air-conditioned cafes and restaurants. There are several parks, squares, and representative sites, and it can take up to a whole day to visit them all. To give you a sample, among the most important squares, we find San Pedro Claver Square, where is one of the most impressive churches, sculptures, and details that tell the story of the saint who lived there. Santo Domingo Square, which in addition to its church, we find a sculpture by the artist Fernando Botero. Simón Bolívar Park, dedicated to the liberator of Colombia, which has some nature and where you can sometimes see performances of local folklore. Next to this park, we find a particular site, the window of the denouncement.
During the Inquisition times, it was common that people pointed to others saying, this is a witch because she's too slim, so must be a witch, something like that. When you wanted to denounce somebody, you came by horse to that window. That is why it is so high, because it was for people on horses. You came at night, all hiding your face or whatever, to leave a letter, a note here saying who was the witch or the person you wanted to denounce. After that, that person had to go on trial.
In another corner of the Simón Bolívar Park is the Cathedral of Santa Catalina de Alejandría, which is the most important church in the city, full of details that you will also learn about during the tour and stories, such as when it was semi-destroyed during the invasion commanded by the English privateer Francis Drake. Outside the cathedral, children enjoy playing with the pigeons. For those who like museums, you can visit some about art, history, yearly, Inquisition, and a recommended one, the Zenú Gold Museum, which is free and shows the incredible gold work of the indigenous people from ancient times. Another activity within this part of the city is to get on the walls or bastions, where we can appreciate a wonderful view and cool off with the sea breeze. it is a very good idea to come and see the sunset here. In short, walking through this city is a delight, and we find photogenic places and many surprises all the time. That's why it can even be done for several days. It's easy to get lost due to the narrow streets and the layout of this city that is like a maze. However, that is not a problem because there is a lot to see, and when you need a break, there are excellent restaurants and places where to sit down for a while. Continuing the tour, we leave through the main gate of the walled city, which is called the Clock Tower, where the stalls with typical suites are located and which serves as a meeting point. Upon passing through the gate, we find a more open area that connects with the pier and the Centennial Park, which is a place where, with a little luck, you can spot animals such as little monkeys, iguanas, and sloths. On the other side of the park, we enter the Getsemaní neighborhood, where the lower class of Cartagena used to live and which is the part of the historic center outside the walls. You are going to love this area. Getsemaní is a very vibrant and colorful neighborhood which alerts all five senses. It is full of art with street murals and galleries, fruits, drinks and snacks everywhere, and a party-like atmosphere all day, every day. Among the most representative places, we find the Street of the Umbrellas, the Street of the Flags, which is a tribute to all the nationalities that visit this city, and of course, Trinidad Square, which is the center of the neighborhood where to find the church and some street food and craft vendors. At night, this place becomes even more active. There you can try typical food, have a beer, and enjoy the shows of street artists who arrive spontaneously. That's the end of our city tour. Before talking about the beach, I have to mention the negative aspects of this city. The first thing is that there are some street vendors and rappers who, due to their insistence, can take away your peace of mind. The vendors insist you for a long time to look at their products, and the rappers chase you, singing about your appearance or your nationality. At first, it may be funny, but then it becomes uncomfortable, and if you pay attention or smile at them, you will have to pay. The other thing is that there are some people who abuse prices. You have to ask the price of things before consuming them. Otherwise, they will charge whatever they want, and they charge according to the person or nationality. I'm not saying that everyone is like this, but you need to be alert because some do it. Okay, now let's go to the beach. There are several beaches in the city, such as Boca Grande, Marbella, and La Boquilla. They have chairs and tents to rent, lifeguards, and where you can buy food and drinks. But they are not the most beautiful beaches or waters. Everyone imagines that Cartagena has typical Caribbean beaches with white sand and turquoise sea. But the truth is that this is volcanic soil, so the sand is dark and the water has shades of gray. To see beautiful beaches, we need to go to Rosario Island, which are almost an hour away by boat. And there we do find what we are looking for. Rosario Islands are part of an archipelago of 28 beautiful islands, where there are public beaches, private resorts, and coral reefs where you can dive or snorkel. You can stay there or take a day trip. It can be reached by private boats or shared tours. The variety of tours is huge. You can go to a single resort and spend the day there or take a tour by different islands. I recommend that you look very carefully at what each tour offers so that you avoid surprises. For example, if they include hotel pickup or you have to go to the dock, what type of lunch is included, if they include drinks, or what type of boat it is on. About resorts, there are some that have attractions for children and others that are only for adults, and some have a better beach than others. Regarding the tours with different stops, There are some that offer many activities in one day. It is a lot of fun, but it's physically demanding, so it's not for everyone. There are other activities like sailing at sunset, where you have a party while you observe the city from outside and enjoy spectacular views as the light changes. There are also catamarans to have a dinner on board, and the nightlife throughout the historic center is quite active. Amigos, I hope this information is useful to you and that you can enjoy this destination in the best way. If you have other recommendations, please leave them in the comments so that others can see them. And before finishing, let me mention 4 things quickly. On my channel, Kachay Colombia, there are videos about other destinations in Colombia that may be useful to plan your trip. On my website, kachaycolombia.com, you find articles and more information. You can even find my tours in case you want me or someone from my team to guide you in your trips in Colombia. You can follow me on my social media to know everything about trips in Colombia. And if you like the video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Colombia is amazing and is waiting for you. Suerte pues!